Hello from Vermont. I am Michael Dumanis, and I'll be reading from my collection Creature, a finalist for the 2023 Big Other Book Award for Poetry. Thank you so much for this honor to John Madeira and to Big Other. I was born in the former Soviet Union, and I moved to the United States when I was 5 at the beginning of the 1980s. My parents settled in Buffalo, New York, which was shrinking because all of the steel factories were closing and all of the workers were being laid off. Every month, my elementary school class got a little bit smaller because somebody else had moved. Meanwhile, I was the Soviet kid in the nervous American classroom at the height of Cold War insecurity. This is a poem about that, and it is called Flag Day. The flags flew in the wind, and I saluted. We'd just moved out, my family, the lot of us, from one country into another. I failed to understand the consequence. The flags clapped like the wind. I spent each yellow bus ride attempting to count toward infinity. My fellow children told me I was weird and couldn't speak their language skillfully enough for freeze tag. I replied, "You're welcome," meaning, please. Dear freckle-dotted, bowl-haired adversaries who chased me merrily in tartan vests around the shrubbery, chanting, "USSR, go home," in dissonant harmony. Where did you move, the lot of you? Each Flag Day, single file, we strutted through the playground with French horns and out-of-tune clarinets, some holding poles aslant like knights with spears, others saluting. Nostalgia is a pathological sickness. Photographed, I am as quiet as an apple approaching the mouth. In the pavilion of din, my skull stays a silence. The customs agent palmed the wedding ring my mother had neglected to declare, unfastened one gold Leo from a chain around her throat, and called it contraband. My mother clasped the thin residual chain, transporting it over meridians in her breast pocket. Flags danced drunkenly across the darkling field, unspooled their languid torsos listlessly into the limpid sky of possibility. I spent every quarter I palmed from my mother on yellow eggs in the store's prize machine. One had a plastic ring inside. I handed it to my impassive mother as she steered a cart overloaded with staples. Detergent, Snapple. One heavy flag, unflappable, ginormous, bore down its shadow over her, then me. A consequence, a language, an infinity. Natural history. I'm fully posable, a leather and clay creature with the capacity to waltz and do the twist. My jaws unclench themselves. My eyes swing open. The world is young, and I still have some years, so I take out a patent on slow-moving fog, take out a patent on the hyacinth. I brand the cow, trademark the coelacanth. Its tiny heart is shaped like a straight tube. However, the darkness keeps hitting me over the head with its hammer. I want to feel more substantial than an elephant wearing a fez. So I invent the theory of gravity. So I discover my larynx and use it. So I study yoga and learn how to wrap my legs around my neck, but I keep finding occasion to lie on the floor like a slug or weep into the rented furniture. So I invent the Bhagavad Gita. So I invent the Gutenberg Bible. So I invent the Etch-a-Sketch and draw myself a lover with the right proportions. We go on holiday and sit in traffic. I do my best not to erase her, not to shake things up. When we get lonely, we invent the baby, a fully posable leather and clay creature. It cries like a small bird. We pose with it. To never erase you, I carve your initials, my lover, into the spine of a tree. You are happy, but the tree dies. So I take out a patent on the synthetic tree, and I carve your initials, my lover, into its torso, and take you to the disco and the roller derby, to the waterfall beside the paper mill. It's so amazing what we get to see. The ruins extend across the valleys toward each sea. Autobiography. Attempted avoiding abysses, assorted abrasions and apertures, abscesses. At adolescence, acted absurd. Acid, amphetamines, amorously aching after an arguably arbitrary Abigail authored an awful Obad. Am always arabesquing after Abigails. Am always afraid. An affliction? Animals augur an avalanche. Animals apprehend abattoirs. Am, as an animal, anxious. Appendages always aflutter. Am an amazing accident, alive. Attired as an apprentice aerialist, addressed acrophobic audiences. Aspiring as an adult after applause, attracted an angelic acolyte. After an affirming affair, an abortion. After an asinine affair, a vowed agnostic approached alone in Abby's altarpiece, asking alleged almighty about afterlife. Ambled adagio around an arena, admired an ancient aqueduct, ate aspic, adored and ate assorted animals, ascended an Alp, affected an accent, acquired an accountant, an abacus, assets, attempted atonal arpeggios. Since third grade, when I had to give a presentation on the wombat, I thought I knew all about marsupials, but recently I encountered one that was new to me. This is a poem named after him. Greater Bilby. This article only concerns itself with greater bilbies, the extant species of bilby. For the extinct species of bilby, see lesser bilby. How many people have seen a bilby or know what a bilby is? Unlike other bandicoots, I make an excellent burrower. This blue-gray fur with patches of tan feels soft, like a receding childhood in the dimming thought of a lonely traveler. My sense of smell is better than yours as I hurtle along the barrens like a tiny rocking horse. My fluted, hairless ears are the slenderest oyster shells. I, like you, harbor unrequited romantic feelings for God, prefer the comfort of a nightfall to the hot glare of anything. Perhaps we must develop a new appreciation. Fewer greater bilbies than pygmy elephants soak up the fraying, fragrant atmosphere than Ganges river dolphins. Once, bilbies skittered through Adelaide gleefully. Pin the whatever on the whatever. The pages of this encyclopedia I clamber through wear thin. Soon I may see in the dust my little cousin again. For the time being, I presume a future, and scratching for a termite the hard soil around the bunch grass, unhinge my small jaw, proffer my endless tongue. And I'm going to read one more poem. Nebraska. I could play the accordion, so I was selected for the amateur propaganda team. It was very cold. I had to stop up the hole in my shoe. I used the lid of a tin can. As far as I can tell, there's nothing trustworthy about my experience of reality. I stand on one leg, I stand on the other leg. I rotate my arms clockwise and call this exercise. In the home movie, I recognize my coat. Taking my turn with the mechanical bull at Uncle Ron's Wild West saloon, I hold on for as long as a minute. So little happens on a given day, which is why I play the accordion until I am riddled with someone's applause, which is why I drive to Arthur County to see the hay bale church and the world's smallest courthouse. If I was a blue jay or some kind of robin, I would fly figure eights over the cottonwoods. Despite the wind, I would not curse the wind. The future is a rumor like the past. The new anxiety supplants the old anxiety. The continent I stand my ground on drifts, which is why I have asked you to marry me. I am solid gold, I say, and I am capable of loving you until the final asteroid hides Omaha under an ocean of ash. But you're unavailable. They were on their way to the ocean when they made their minds up to stay here. The grass was so tall they picked wildflowers without stepping down from their horses. We are all so lucky. It is terrifying. It is a blue sky day for all the freezingness. I blink into the chasm of sunlight endlessly. I forget my life, but then I remember my life. Thank you, Big Other. Thank you, John Madera.